My name's Amy. I work at the North Suburban YMCA in Northbrook, Illinois. I'm excited to welcome you guys today to our YMCA education series. Today we have Boost Your Brain with Cognitive Fitness. It's presented by Northwestern University Speech, Language, and Learning Program. We have Lee Cohen and Dr. Liz Meyer here with us today. We thank you guys so much for joining us. Just a reminder, the Y.E.S is a completely free and open to the public program with thanks to generous donors and sponsors. So yeah, we hope you enjoy today's presentation. I know I'm looking forward to it, and I will hand it on to you ladies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Lee Cohen. I'm here with Dr. Gardner-Meyer. We are clinicians who practice and teach graduate level students at Northwestern University Center for Audiology, Speech, Language, and Learning. And we very much believe in working in what's termed multidisciplinary teams, having a lot of sets of eyes on a client to optimize care and optimize quality of life. And so Dr. Gardner-Meyer and I took the initiative to think about how we can provide community health initiatives that support members in our area. And this is where we reached out to Amy and wanted to provide this in-service. So we have education specialty in this area. So we're happy to present to you today what we have compiled, something really condensed, something really palatable and accessible. And we hope from this talk today, you have some takeaways, because what we have found with our extensive research is that small lifestyle modifications can make a huge difference in terms of your brain health and your quality of life. Dr. Liz, anything to add?
I think you gave a nice summary, but this isn't necessarily something that we're providing care. We're giving suggestions to make little changes in your life that can have that can pack a big punch for your quality of life and overall health. This could be considered a preventative health initiative. And so whether you're interested in just this program, or we have a greater 6-week extended version of this program, we hope that you enjoy the information that we've found. It looks like it's a small group, so I will be managing the chat. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Wonderful. So I will start to share our slides. And let me pull them up here. Let me go to the top. Let me put it in presenter view. Can everyone see the transcription easily? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so this is our cognitive fitness. We have, as Dr. Liz was saying, we run a 6-week program at our clinic. We've run it successfully in the fall. In the winter, participants are really feeling like they're taking some great evidence-based education and putting it into real practice in their life. And so we're very happy to share this condensed version of, bits of what we cover every week. And so we hope you enjoy this today. Just a disclosure statement that Dr. Gardner-Meyer and I, as I said before, we practice at Northwestern University Center for Audiology and Speech, Language, and Learning. And again, what we are doing here is providing a community health initiative, and that we hope that this is understood to be holistic and research-driven. And that's our intent behind this. And again, if you have questions about enrolling in this program come spring, we have listed the contact information. And maybe, Liz, do you mind putting that also in the chat? The website and the email link for Newcastle. Okay, wonderful. So our learning objectives is we are going to discuss neuroplasticity. I'm sure you've heard this is quite the buzzword, but we are actually going to explain it in a way that really can be understood with great clarity. We're also going to identify key parts of cognition and examine cognitive lifestyle changes. Today, we're going to cover diet, exercise, sleep, hearing. In our course, we also cover use of technology and environment. The way we pick these variables is there's so much research. There's so much research. And when we thought about what are the most salient variables to optimizing brain health, it really came down to understanding neuroplasticity, recognizing how sleep, exercise, diet, and hearing all contribute to our brain health. Any questions so far? Okay, great. So when we think about neuroplasticity, really what neuroplasticity is it's the brain's ability to adapt and change in response to environment. This can be both positive and negative. And so when we talk in our cognitive fitness program about what to invite into your life to encourage brain health, we're thinking about what is stimulating and what is really nourishing to your brain and to your body. So when we think about neuroplasticity, it's the capacity of the brain cells to change. This is in response to environment. But again, these factors can be internal, your mental health, what you put into your system, and external, what's happening in your environment, stressors that might encourage neuroinflammation. This can also, as we talked before, dependent on the internal and external variables, this can have a negative influence or a positive influence as you age. So thinking about your lifestyle just now at this point, take a moment to think about what is really lifting you in your life and what is challenging for you in your life. And as we talk further, you'll understand how that might impact your brain health. Any questions before we move on? Okay. So what we try to really discuss at great length in our course is about how you lead a stimulating lifestyle, and not only the importance of it in terms of your mental health, but the importance of it in terms of strengthening synaptic activity, the way the energy, the messages in our brains connect and fire, and how you can increase that connectivity with learning in your life. And so by really looking into a stimulating environment, by thinking about what activities do I do, and am I kind of on autopilot? The term for this is automaticity. Are we taking time to pursue maybe a new game, an activity, an experience that really challenges us in a way that we can get out of autopilot? It's not mundane. And it's really exciting to our brains, and we're learning. Are we seeking out learning opportunities in our life? Are we seeking out socialization opportunities in our life where we can learn from other people, perspective take, and really challenge ourselves? And that's when learning happens. And when learning happens and stimulation happens, that's where you have an ability to promote positive neuroplasticity. The brain is malleable. And I think we have moved away. There's definitely points in our life where there's greater development that can happen. But what we're finding in our research is there's always time to optimize your brain health, regardless of your age. And a lot of it is due to your lifestyle and what you're inviting in and what you're taking out. Okay. So I want us to take a moment to just think about some of these lifestyle internal and external variables that we might be juggling with right now. And, is there that time to optimize sleep, exercise, diet? And what Dr. Liz and my student Annie and my student Jennifer, what we want to emphasize today is not to make these massive changes and be overwhelmed by them, but how can you start to make small steps that make a big difference in your life? And then when you do that, are you clearer? Are you processing in a quicker way? Are you feeling that you're engaging in your life more? And that's really our true intent with this community health initiative of, if we teach about these lifestyle modifications, can people promote brain health and improve their overall quality of life? I'm going to move it on to Annie right now, who's going to talk about how you enrich your life to promote positive neuroplasticity. Here's Annie.
Hello, everyone. So, as Lee was saying, we can kind of design our lifestyle to promote that positive neuroplasticity. So, putting yourself in that stimulating environment can really help your brain function. So, some things that might include the stimulating activities are lifelong learning. Look at you now, you're here learning about how to better your brain, which is amazing, as well as social connections, going out for coffee or a drink or meeting a friend for a walk. Just keeping that sociability in your life is so key, as well as mental challenges. I know some people like to talk about like the New York Times games as a daily mental challenge, or the crossword every week, I know is always a fun challenge, but things like that that really challenge your flexibility and your thinking. As well as stimulating environments, making sure you're getting outside, having less clutter around yourselves. I know sometimes it's hard when there's a lot of visual clutter to focus on a task at hand. So making sure that your environment is catered to your personal needs and taking that time to get outside and get some fresh air. And then another one we mentioned here is mindfulness. So practicing being in the moment and being present, and just being aware of everything around you, and maybe taking some time to reflect has been seen to promote that neuroplasticity. And this is not at all an exhaustive list. There are plenty of other things that can be stimulating for your brain, but this is some things that we found in our research. So on the flip side of that, I don't want to focus too much on the negatives, but a non-stimulating lifestyle can actually hinder these neural connections. So you really want to avoid, as Lee was saying, the mundane, the automaticity. So if you're doing the same New York Times crossword every single day, it's easy, it's not challenging your brain. So introducing new things like learning something new, is something that we really encourage to promote that neuroplasticity and promote your brain health. And so things that are mundane and maybe promoting that automaticity are associated with impaired executive functioning and attention and memory, which can lead to cognitive decline and poor physical and mental health. So now I would like to first, before we get into more detail, talk just a little bit about executive functions. So executive functions, I like to use as an umbrella term for your cognition. Those are goal-oriented tasks that use your attention and your memory. So when that comes to mind, I'm thinking about planning. Maybe you're planning an event or planning out your day. I think about problem solving. I think about just your memory in general when you go to the grocery store and are trying to remember the list that you wrote down at home. So there are a lot of things that you do in your daily life that use these executive functions. And I'd love if anyone feels comfortable contributing in the chat to let us know what you do in your day to do planning and problem solving and scheduling and prioritizing. If there's anything that comes to mind throughout your day, just a simple task with a goal. You also could think of something like reasoning. I know for myself, I'm reasoning with my mom or my dad or my roommates about, oh, I've got to leave. Like, I can't talk to you anymore. Or we're arguing about opinions on different topics. And that calls on your executive functioning, even having a conversation. Getting out the door in the morning, definitely. Remembering what to grab. For sure. Keeping your schedules. Yes, thank you for that. Planning out your day and keeping multiple schedules. You're balancing a ton of different things at once while really, really trying to get to that goal, which calls on a lot of your brain. So when we're talking about neuroplasticity and promoting positive neuroplasticity, I might be using fancy terms like executive functions, but I'm really thinking about these tasks. I'm thinking about your day-to-day lifestyle when you're using these executive functions. So now we will go more into our lifestyle modifications that we talk about further in our lecture series. So first, I want us to all participate in an activity. On the screen, you see 3 words written in different colors, and I'm going to do an example. I want you to tell me the name of the color of the text. So what color the text is, not what it reads. So for example, I would say blue, green, red here. Notice how I was saying the name of the color, the color of the text. It's hard to explain. The color of the text, not the written word. Okay, so now I will show you a screen with a few more words, and I'll ask you to do this on your own, and then maybe just reflect on how that feels. And I encourage you to just pay attention to how you felt doing this task. Was it challenging? Maybe what about it stood out to you? Definitely had to go slow. Got easier as it progressed. That's definitely some feedback I've gotten before about this task. All right. So I don't want to rush anyone, but I will go in and explain a little bit about this. So we call this the Stroop task. Ooh, it takes a second to read the color because the word registers first. Thank you, James. This actually is used to measure inhibition, which is another executive function that I had not listed previously. That being your ability to suppress impulsive responses that interfere with accomplishing a goal. So it pulls on one of the forms of attention called selective attention. You're trying to focus on ignoring the distraction of reading because that's your automatic responses to read, while paying attention to the goal of paying attention to the color of the text. So you are really focused on one thing and inhibiting your response of impulsivity by reading. So you're constantly reminding yourself of those rules, which really calls upon your cognitive flexibility. And a study confirming the reliability of this test looked at brain scans of Alzheimer's patients over time as they completed this task. And they actually found that as their symptoms progressed, brain activity in areas that control their executive functioning, so that's what we call our frontal lobe up here, those areas decreased and the task took a lot longer to complete. So it became more challenging as they lost matter in their brain where their executive functioning happens. Thank you all for participating in this task. Okay, and now I'll turn it over to Jennifer for diet.
Okay. So the Mediterranean diet is the most recommended diet by physicians. And so looking at this picture, I would love to hear in the chat like some guesses what the Mediterranean diet consists of. Omega-3. Also has like a high intake of fruits, whole grains, vegetables, fish, olive oil. These are all great contributions to the diet. So findings suggest that adherence to the Mediterranean diet was associated with better episodic memory, which is our ability to learn, store, and retrieve information. Our working memory, which is our short-term memory that stores information temporarily, and our overall global cognition. So Mediterranean diet, implementing that into your daily routine is a great way to boost your cognitive health. Oh. And now we're going to go into exercise.
All right, I'm back. So, exercise is another lifestyle modification that we talk about in our lecture. And exercise has been seen to lower the amount of buildup in your brain, as well as increase the strengthening of your blood vessels. So both of those are very important for cognitive functioning because it allows signals to be sent a lot quicker. So your brain has a lot of different wires that are connecting and communicating with one another. So when you think about a movement, for example, and try and execute it, the clogging up of, there's a lot of plaque that can build up, and exercise can help kind of clog, or, oh, I'm so sorry. Exercise can help decrease all of that that's clogging up your brain and make those signals fire faster. And so a study looking into a group of dementia patients measured their cognitive functioning before and after completing an exercise routine for 9 weeks. And so a group that they found that a combined routine of aerobic exercise consisting of like a daily walk or just some sort of cardio combined with resistance training, so that's some sort of strength training, maybe you're using some body weights or just doing some planks or squats. The combination of those two forms of exercise provided the optimal benefits for individuals with dementia. It led to improvements in attention, in processing speed, and working memory. And so those findings highlighted the importance of having a holistic exercise approach to enhance not only your motor abilities, but also your cognitive abilities. And I will note that I've had some previous patients say, oh, well, how can I incorporate this as I'm getting older? But they say in the study, because it was such a short amount of time, it was just 9 weeks, and they saw such significant improvements that even these small modifications in your lifestyle for a short amount of time can really lead to a change in your cognitive flexibility and your functioning. And I noticed a question in the chat. Cognitive flexibility tied to multitasking. In addition to this lecture, I'm also taking a Zoom exercise class that you can follow the instructor while listening to your talk. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So we haven't looked as much into multitasking necessarily, but I would say that if you're on 2 different Zooms is what I might be interpreting this as, you're kind of shifting your attention between 2 things, and that definitely requires some cognitive flexibility to take attention in both of those domains. So thank you for sharing. All right, now Jennifer will lead us through a mindfulness exercise.
Okay, so mindfulness, in addition to aerobic exercise and resistance training, is a great way to combine all those things to support your cognitive health. And mindfulness, as Annie talked about a little bit earlier, it helps you be present in the present moment and be more aware of your body. And research has shown that following 8 weeks of mindfulness training, a group of healthy older adults demonstrated improved cognitive functioning compared to a control group. They also showed greater connectivity within parts of the brain that are more susceptible to the effects of aging. So 1 week of this training talked about the 5 senses, which I'm going to lead us in a quick mindfulness exercise. So I want you to sit up nice and tall, feet touching the ground. And I want you to take a deep breath in, then deep breath out. And I want you to notice 5 things that you can see around you. You can notice the size, the shape, the color, and then take another deep breath in. Deep breath out. And now I want you to notice 4 things that you can feel. So feel how rough or soft, could be maybe smooth. Feel how that sensation is as you take in one more deep breath in, deep breath out. Now notice 3 things you can hear. It can be my voice, it can be maybe cars outside, air conditioning. Really focus that on that noise as you take another deep breath in, deep breath out. Notice 2 things you can smell. Maybe notice how like faint it is or how strong as you take in one more deep breath in, deep breath out. And notice 1 thing that you can taste. As you take one more deep breath in, deep breath out. And I would love to hear from the chat any feelings or like sensations that they noticed as they were going through this exercise. So for me, like I feel like it changes every time I do this exercise, but this time I felt like I really like honed in on like things I could hear. I think it was because there was a lot of noisy things going on. So it was like I was hearing the cars outside and my computer running. But then other times I feel like things I smell could be stronger. But it really shows you like how like when you're focusing on one sense though, you kind of like forget about the other ones, and it's like that selective attention that you're targeting. Someone said it helped them slow down. Yeah, and be present in that moment. Exactly. And someone else said they focus more on the visual stimulation. All right, these are all great things. So now we're going to go on to sleep as another lifestyle modification. So it is important to get an adequate amount of sleep each night because there are key functions that are happening while you sleep, which is energy conservation, self-repair and recovery, and memory storage. Sleep is especially important for your cognition because it clears out amyloid plaque, which is linked to cognitive impairment seen in Alzheimer's disease. Everybody accumulates these plaques. However, people with Alzheimer's accumulate them at a much faster rate. At night when we're sleeping, going back to that self-repair and recovery, these plaques are cleared out. And research emphasizes that positive lifestyle changes like diet, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, all that we've been talking about throughout this lecture, and managing conditions like diabetes and hypertension can improve overall brain health and potentially reduce the risk of Alzheimer's, even for those who know they have accumulating plaques but are not yet symptomatic. So now Annie's going to talk about a research study.
All right. So this study I looked into asked the question, is it harder to find words when you're sleep deprived? So they investigated essentially how a night of sleep deprivation affects people's performance on a task requiring verbal communication. So I'll note the study does say it's from 1988, which might seem a little dated for research, but it is the foundational study that most researchers are still using to support their findings today. So this study looked at 2 groups, one who was assigned to stay awake at a lab overnight, and the other was allowed to go home and have their regular sleep routine and return back to the lab in the morning. So in the morning, after the sleep deprivation night and the normal sleep night, they were given the same verbal fluency task. So they were asked to name as many verbs as they could associated with a specific noun. So for example, they might have been given the word pen, and they could have responded write, hold, click, sign, and so on. And so they found overall that the sleep-deprived individuals generated fewer words in general, and their responses consisted of less unique words and more errors. So that means they might have just done a broader term, such as, give or take, or, just something that's not as specific to that noun. And they had more errors consisting of repeating words or saying words that weren't at all associated with the noun. And so they had less accuracy on this task. And so these results suggest that sleep loss interferes with our innovative and novel responses. So with sleep deprivation, your behavior becomes more impulsive and automatic, which, tying back to our neuroplasticity little skidbit, that is what we're trying to avoid. You don't want that mundane and that automaticity. So having less sleep might actually lead to this negative neuroplasticity that we've talked about previously. All right. And so now I would like to lead us through another activity that we are testing our verbal fluency, which is mimicking what was kind of done in this study. So now I want you, if you maybe have like a paper and pen or somewhere to type, I'll give you a quick second to grab that. So I want you on your own to name as many words as you can think of that start with the letter M as seen on the screen. So there are a few rules before we start. Do not name any words that begin with a capital M, like a name such as Mary. Also, try not to say the same word again with a different ending. So avoid saying like mop, mopping, and mopped, because those are not unique. So to keep track of your number, you can write these down, type them, however seems most feasible for you. You'll have 1 minute, and I will tell you, you can go now. Got about 15 more seconds. All right, finish writing up your last word or typing it out. And then I'll ask you to count up the number of words that you were able to come up with from your list. And feel free to put that in the chat. I'd love to see how many people got. I'm seeing 16, 19, 18. Amazing. 15. Wow. When I did this, I got 17 and I was very proud of myself. This is a task that we as speech therapists use a lot to look at verbal fluency and your word retrieval abilities. And so it placed demands on your word retrieval for sure, but also your mental flexibility. So you're attending to the task at hand that is coming up with words that start with M, but you might have thought of capital M words, or you might have thought of words with the same ending and had to tell yourself like, nope, that's not allowed. And so that is your inhibition as well. You're trying not to say things that don't agree with these rules, and you're monitoring your performance. And so when we do this task, we shoot for people to get over 10. So I'm very impressed with these numbers I'm seeing in the chat. Great job, everyone. And yeah, I'm very proud of you, and I'm glad that maybe you guys all got a great night of sleep last night, or maybe you have a lot of M's around you somewhere. But thank you. And I will send it over to Jennifer.
Okay, so this is just some simple ways you can improve your sleep hygiene. So keeping your bedroom cool, dark, having a consistent bedtime, avoiding caffeine drinks in the afternoon, evening, eating a small snack if you're hungry in the evening, and then turning off working electronics at least 1 hour before bed. And I would love to hear from the chat if there's been any other strategies you've used to improve your sleep. I've been really trying to implement not looking at technology at least an hour before bed, like choosing to read a book for like 30 minutes and then going to bed after that. And so nighttime routine really helps. Yeah, having that consistent routine, sticking to it. It's definitely a great way to support your sleep hygiene. I'll keep looking at the chat if anyone else wants to share. But now I'm gonna move it over to Dr. Liz to talk about hearing.
Wait, Dr. Liz, you might be muted.
There we go. You'd think I'd never done this before. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. So I wanted to share, firstly, in relation to sleep, I'd also recommend having some type of pleasant sound in the environment that you're in while you're sleeping. It could be like a nature sound or something in the background that isn't going to pull your attention. Our brains tend to sleep better when there is an external sound that's pleasant. I don't recommend a TV, but there's some research that shows that you can get into a deeper sleep faster and improve sleep quality with having sound in your environment. Now, this slide, if you'll notice that hearing loss is related to many different pieces of our overall health. So when we think about one's overall health, we're not just thinking about one piece of them. So even though I'm an audiologist, I'm thinking about their sleep. I might ask about medications and other health conditions that my patients have because we look at the whole body. And hearing loss and hearing issues can be related and are often related to other health conditions. The one that gets the most media attention is the cognitive decline that's associated with hearing loss. Now, hearing loss doesn't cause cognitive decline, but there is a relationship with the rate of cognitive decline. And so if your brain has to focus harder on what you're missing, it pulls some of the areas of focus away, which can also relate to falling. So if you're focusing on what's going on in your environment, and we're having a hard time surveying that environment because of a hearing loss, we see a threefold risk of falling when someone has an untreated hearing loss. Now, I could do a presentation on pretty much every single one of these bullets here, but we are limited on time. The moral of the story is that if you've never had a hearing test before, it's a wonderful way to look at a factor of overall health. It's related to many things. You can't have communication without hearing or hearing without communication when it comes to spoken language. It's important to be on top of your hearing. I'm looking in the chat and I was just going to smile at Miss Mitchell's comment about the cat. We would recommend that you not have your cat wake you up in the middle of the night. But we know cats, those who have cats, they don't take direction very well. So you can't just shut your door and expect them to not paw at it. So I don't have a solution there.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you so much, Dr. Gardner-Meyer. Before we get to the next slide, where we contribute some of what we hope to be the big takeaways, I wanted to hear from the chat. When you think about our talk today, what are going to be some of the things that stick with you? Oh, okay. So Joanne has suggestions for tinnitus. That's a Dr. Gardner-Meyer question.
Sure is. Um, my suggestion would be to see an audiologist. First and foremost, get a hearing test, see if it's potentially related to a hearing loss or if it's on its own. That's first and foremost. Now, if you've already done that and you're looking to improve your sleeping, I'd strongly recommend listening to music, a pleasant sound, nature sounds. You can visit the baby aisle and some of the sleeping aids that they have there. Static sounds, white noise, pink noise, those types of things without a light source is my suggestion. So tinnitus or tinnitus, it's a condition that can negatively impact sleep. We want you to sleep well. It's important for you to sleep well. No specific suggestions for tinnitus other than get your hearing tested, and peace and quiet is not for you. Sound on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What are some of the other takeaways? We talked today about neuroplasticity, diet, exercise, sleep, and hearing. So what is something that might stick out to you? Again, this is so much the intent of our community health initiative that when we're telling you the benefits of diet, exercise, sleep, hearing, you start to connect of how it really does benefit your brain health. I'll just give the chat another minute. I agree with what Jennifer said. I'm working on not looking at technology before bed. That's been a big factor. And I'm also thinking about getting a sound machine, just like I have for my 3-year-old son.
I love what the YMCA had said about the nighttime routine helping. I mean, that having that routine, going to bed at the same time is helpful. Sleep is really important. And like you had said, I mean, the students said sometimes your performance on these tasks that we do is impacted by your sleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the cat waking you up. Sometimes it's out of your control.
Sure.
So whatever it might be, if you have a medical condition that gets you up multiple times a night, the point is to stack the deck in your favor, to do everything that you can to make your routine go smoother. Avoiding your phone use, eating a well-balanced diet, doing all those things that we know are good for us. But when we start to see improvement in things like sleep and focus and so forth, that's the motivator, right?
Mm-hmm. And again, we always recommend whenever you're making a lifestyle modification and something that's habit forming, start small. Start small. Small changes that make a big, big difference. And so let's look at some of these takeaways. When we talk about enrichment, cognitive enrichment, driving neuroplasticity, we invite you to embrace learning and cognitive challenges, keep your brain adaptable, malleable, which encourages improved brain health. We also encourage you to socialize and be in spaces where you have to reason and perspective take and feel that you are working some of those executive function skills with reasoning and problem solving. When it comes to diet, I had a dietitian say this to me a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. Pick things that are close to the earth. right? And that kind of leads you away from foods that are processed. So focus on plant-based foods, lean proteins, whole grains. And again, it's not only to, we think, reduce inflammation in our physical body, but neuroinflammation in our brain. When it comes to exercise, as Annie had talked about, at any age with any condition, exercise can be beneficial for brain health. Again, it's always advised if you have, conditions that might be complex, to talk to your primary provider about recommendations they have for specific exercise. But what we found across our research is even a little bit helps a lot, right? And so if it's just getting in, 30 minutes a day of cardio, finding 2 times a week to either plank it out or lift some weights, or even lift some milk jugs above your head. This is a great way for you to get rich oxygenated blood to your brain. We also recommend you bringing in different mindfulness practices. That could be in the form of meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, in which you're really getting the most bang for your buck, because what we found across our studies is it's cardio, it's resistance training, and it's mindfulness practices to really reduce neuroinflammation and boost your brain power. Sleep. As was discussed by Jennifer and Annie, we have amyloid plaque that builds up in our brain throughout the day. And just as you think of, brushing your teeth, scrapes the plaque off your teeth, the same thing, sleep is like a toothbrush for your brain. You sleep and you rinse out the plaque from the brain, and it can really promote improved cognitive functioning, better verbal fluency, as we saw in our exercise, and our processing speed can be, we can be fast. We can be on top of it throughout the day. Hearing, as Dr. Gardner-Meyer talked about, it's important to protect your hearing. It's important to get testing. And Dr. Liz, I don't know if you mentioned the 7 to 11 year mark of when people actually pursue testing, because I think that's just always been something that you've educated me on that's really stuck out to me. So if you haven't, if you don't mind sharing that, that's appreciated.
Yeah, I was just writing the chat. I have to leave for a patient in a couple minutes, but
Me too.
very often what we see is in line with general research is that it takes someone, after recognizing an issue with their hearing, about 7 years, 7 to 11 years between when they notice it and when they actually treat it. That's not good. I mean, preventative care is better. We are seeing less than that. I'd be interested to see what a study would look like, because this current generation seems to be better about preventative health, but the amount of time that often lapses between recognizing a problem and actually treating it is longer than we'd like to see. All right. I have to head out. Thank you so much for having us here. It was wonderful to be here. The number for our clinic and the website is also further up in the chat. It looks like Lee put it in as well. If you'd like programming like this, please don't be a stranger. We're here in Evanston, and yes, very good. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And just before we close out, just our confidentiality statement that I think, Amy, you had said that this is going to be on the private YouTube channel, and we appreciate your participation. We ask that you not distribute it, because we would love to continue to get out into the community and provide this education to different organizations. So we thank you so much for your time. Again, I just wrote in the chat our front desk contact, which is newcastle@northwestern.edu. If you have more questions, just emphasize cognitive fitness, and they will put you in touch with either myself or Dr. Gardner-Meyer. And again, we are here to serve the community. We are happy to help. We have a clinic right here in Evanston, and we're not that far away. So we thank you for your time this morning, and we thank you for taking the time to be with us. Amy, anything else?
Oh, no, just we'll be sure to send along the link to your website and to look forward to the spring. I think you said you have a 6-week course coming up in the spring, and we'll make sure
Yes.
to highlight that. And thank you both and everybody for your presentations. This has been wonderful and very informative, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.